So here's how the installation goes. You can see here I have about a 3-inch deep trench. If it's a little too deep, that's no problem. You just lift it up at the end. And I've already cut the plastic edging, the composite edging, to fit and did a dry fit. And one of the things I knew I was going to like about this was that you can just cut around really easily any kind of obstacles you run into. So say if there's a tree root or a pipe. In this case, I had a concrete footer as part of a bridge. So I literally just set it down there, made a mark, and snipped around it. So I don't have to cut metal edging in half with a saw. I mean, it's usually a big production. You could ignore the wire. That's just some landscape wire we dropped in as well. So once I've got it pretty close to fitting, if it's a little too long, that's not a problem. I just set it into the trench at that point, just roughly anywhere into the trench. Okay, get it slide down in there. And then from there, and I'll show you starting from this part right here, is in this instance we've got decomposed granite on one side and a bedding area on the other. Most people are probably you're gonna have a bedding area on one side and grass on the other. Doesn't matter, it'll work the same. But just pull, just kind of hold the edging as straight as possible, and push that on one side and push whatever your other material is, probably going to be dirt, on the other side, and you're just going to keep working on those two sides. It goes really quickly, all the way to one end down to the other. You can see I'm just setting in there. Anytime with the soil in there loosely, if I need to adjust the straightness of it, that's when I do it. Just try to get it as straight as possible. And at the end, I'm going to show you how to make it really, really nice and straight, because that was the big complaint, was that they couldn't get all of the little tiny sway marks out of it and so forth. And it's actually pretty easy to do once you know how to do it. But you can see, I mean, it's that quick as far as getting it installed initially. And so you can just see I followed just a real nice curve. Okay, right over here is where it goes over the concrete. So I want to adjust it right there, pull some dirt to back it in. Over here I'll push some more crushed granite up against it so that I have support on both sides, and that has it held in place. The main thing I want to convey, a big part of the reason this is already going in so smoothly is with such a nice curve, or if I wanted to put it in a straight line, it would work the same way. You can see here, I mean, it's just really a very, very clean line. And as I grab another piece right here, one of the things you got to understand about landscaping is nothing you're working on is ever straight, nothing you're working on is ever level. It may look like it, but it's not. So in this instance, starting down on this side, it is lower than what this side is. I can just tell just with a real quick visual look. It looks pretty level to most people, but it's about 3/4 of an inch lower on this side. So if I started with a piece of the edging down there and I tried to keep it level running down there, well, the fact that the trench is not level, what it's going to do is, as I try to push it level, it's going to want to buckle. And when it buckles, what you're going to see is the end result is going to have tiny little bends. It looks really, really bad. And the way around that is just, as you install it, let it follow the grade. And what I mean by that is that if it's going nice and straight, okay, you've got it going in nice and straight, and then you start to see it kind of start to buckle and you can't get it out of there, just allow it to push over just a little bit, either right or left, one way or the other. That takes it out of there, because you're allowing it just to essentially follow the lines by cheating with a little bit of angle change. That's really all there is to it. So really right here, it's actually starting out, it's pretty much straight up and down. You can't tell from looking at it. Right here, it's probably 5 degrees lean that way. As it's going, then it gets straight again. So I've used that just a little 5-degree fold just to kind of adjust for the fact that the soil changes level from one end to the other. It's the main thing you got to know. Once you get it nice and compacted in, that's when you're going to see some of your little bends as I'm looking down and everything. And since it's flexible, you just take and just kind of work it just real gently, compact your soil or whatever you're using on each side of it once you get it lined up. And I'm telling you, you can see you can end up with just what is almost a perfect line. So you can see there that it's nice and straight. As it keeps going where I haven't gotten to it, it starts waving again. Once I start compressing both sides of it with soil and so forth, that'll fix that up. But I'll take you just real quick for a final review of a few of the areas we've done so you can see just how well it works. I don't sell this stuff, by the way. So right over here was an area of crushed granite. Just it's going to separate a bedding area. And you can see, I mean, just really nice fluid lines. Down here's one that we haven't made the adjustments on. So you can see right there where I'm videoing in on that it has still a little bit of a bend to it, but all we would do is we'd come up here and just work it out ever so slightly, push the material back up against it, and as it begins to dry up a little bit and settle, you can see just doing that, literally that amount of pushing, look at the nice curve it made to it. And again, if you're looking straight down on it, this has probably a 5-degree offset. You wouldn't notice it looking at it, but that just adjusts for the fact that none of this soil is level. Right over here you can see it's actually probably 5 degrees or so offsetting the other way. And once we get it where we want it, we're just going to compress it, and then you look at the nice curvature of that line. One real quick thing as far as making connections, since this was just a 20-foot roll, down here all I did to make a connection, because this stuff is so thin, is this is where another bed starts out that way, and this is where grass will grow out this way. So I just overlapped by about 4 inches, used the construction adhesive, clamped it together, gave it a few hours to set up, and now it's nicely clamped together. You could do it underground, you know, just overlap a piece if you didn't want to see the doubling up right there. I don't consider it all that noticeable. The other thing that I was going to mention is everybody was complaining, or a lot of the reviews I saw was complaining about there not being enough stakes. As you can see, I used the stakes here for the start of this long line, and then there are no more stakes. I used the stake here at the end of this line, and then there's literally none other until the very end there. That's all they're for. I mean, it would just be any areas that they might be flopping loose or so forth. There's no need to put one every 2 feet, which is again another nice thing that would not be the case if you were using metal edging. The stakes are every 2 feet. So just the stakes are just for the ends. I actually ended up with a lot left over, but I think a lot of people are confused that you have to constantly put stakes, that will take some of the bends out of it, and in fact it's just kind of working the plastic, the composite plastic, excuse me, same thing, that takes it out of there. And right there you can see I've got a couple pieces together, clamped and drying. They're probably ready. I used a little bit of sealant in between them, and it's good to go. So my initial impressions are, this is the first time we ever used it, are good. The main thing, you know, when I see people, you know, we all read reviews and we think, boy, you know, how can the reviews be so different from one person to the other? Is just understanding that if you're not a professional, you're not going to get things right probably the first time. You're not going to, your muscles and your hands and muscle memory and so forth, as they call it, it's just not going to be like someone who does it all the time. So you just kind of practice, have a little fun with it, and you know, worst case scenario, pull it back out of the ground and redo it. But it's obviously all completely doable. It's, you know, it's just composite plastic edging, and just working it a little bit, and turns out really nicely. Hope this helps out.